What is up, everybody? My name is Augie Schmidt, and today I'm going to be talking about the 3 best ways on how to get into commercial real estate brokerage. So towards the end of this video, I'm going to drop some knowledge on commercial real estate brokerage versus investments. And I know investments has been the hot and sexy thing for a long time and is still an incredible way to build wealth and all something that a lot of brokers want to do. However, when you are younger, I'm going to give you my opinion on why I think brokerage is better to get into than investments. So stay tuned to the end of the video and I will drop some knowledge and share my thoughts on what I think about that. So from my experience, there are 3 ways to get into commercial real estate brokerage. I will outline them. I'll drop them on my iPad here so I can pull them up on the screen, and I will go into the pros and cons on each. So the first way I'm going to talk about getting into commercial real estate brokerage is getting your foot in the door. And this is by being an intern or a staff employee. So if you're freshly out of high school or college, usually an intern position works well, or you can be a part-time or full-time employee. That is a great way to get your foot in the door and also get a good understanding of this business. So all of these ways, these 3 ways that I'm going to go over, the most important theme around all of them is getting your foundation in the business and getting the education and knowledge of the properties, the market, of the industry underneath you. Because if you don't know these things, you cannot operate in the business and you cannot build success. It's like building the foundation of a building. If you lack on the foundation, the building's not going to turn out very well and you can't build it very tall. So all of these ways of how to get into brokerage I'm going to be talking about all consist of laying a foundation in the business, which is vital to your success as a commercial real estate broker. So as mentioned, part number 1 is going to be interning or working part-time or full-time as an employee. And when doing something like this, it's always good to be in a position that you are going to learn the industry. As I mentioned before, you want to be put in a position that you learn as much as possible. I mean, there's a variety of different tasks you can do in an intern or full-time, part-time position with a brokerage firm. But I would say that getting in the door and realizing, hey, this is what the industry is about, and also knowing where you can best serve the firm. So this might be actually at the firm itself, or it might be tied to an advisor. So if you come in and say, so for me, for example, I did research and analysis. So I came in and my job was strictly to do BPOs or brokers' price opinions for the advisors. So the advisors were everybody out there selling, and I was in the department that would do the BPOs. So they would go out there, talk to clients, and they would get somebody interested in selling or buying. And in this case, they would be interested in selling, and they would come to the research department and say, hey, I have this property, the advisor would, I have this property at 123 ABC Street. And we would take that in-house at the research department. We would put together a full 20-page packet of this property that ran everything from market analysis, demographics, obviously gave all the details about the building, size, square footage, year built, all of that. And then we would understand the market. So do market aerials to understand what's going on around the property and dropping logos on the maps. I probably dropped 1 million logos in my day on these maps to know what surrounds the subject property that we're trying to put a value on. So ultimately what this BPO would conclude of is a value for the advisor to go back to the property owner and then hopefully get a listing, hopefully help them out, sell their property. So we did that. I did that for probably 2 years. And as a department, I probably saw 300-400 different BPOs during that time. And, research and analysis really wasn't a very strong skill set of mine coming in, but it was a lower level task that the firm needed done. And it did not pay a lot of money, but it got my foot in the door. It got me to understand the business and lay that foundation. So, after about 18 to 24 months, I got my shot at doing sales. And, that foundation that was underneath me from the research and analysis position, that just skyrocketed my success. So, year 3 was really my takeoff year. And, it wouldn't have been if it wasn't for that foundation that was underneath me by doing all those BPOs, because I knew the market so well. So I knew the market, I knew the properties, I knew the industry, I knew all the values and the comps. And I've pulled all of them for almost, every different property type. And, my time in the seat in that position, even though it was a little paying job, it sustained me long enough to put food on the table in order to get my shot at selling and really just confident in my knowledge to go out there and do deals. Another thing about this is that you always want to be transparent with whoever your employer is. So when you go in, you should know and tell them, say, hey, I want to do this job because I want to get to sales. Or, hey, I want to do this for maybe 12, 18, 24 months, however long it takes. Because me personally, I did not see myself in research and analysis for, 2, 3, 5 years. But oftentimes, regular employees stay for 2, 3, 5 years. So when you come in, I think that's very good to have a conversation up front and just say, hey, I want to get my foot in the door, and, what do you need done? And also knowing where your skills and abilities are aligned and where you can help the firm. So, and, the biggest thing there, I think, is just being transparent and saying, hey, this is what I want to do, and this is my game plan. And the people at the firm, they're not going to be mad at that, because as an advisor, as an agent, you going out there selling and getting a foundation underneath you, helping out the company, and then you being able to go out there and sell, you're going to make the company a lot of money, or at least hopefully you do. So, the employer, the boss, whoever is over you, being fully transparent with them is usually a good thing. And they're excited about that because they say, hey, we're training this person up, and they're going to spend, however long in research or administration or in marketing. And, we're going to train them up in order to start selling. They get licensed, and then they go to the open market, and then they start transacting and doing deals. And like I said, the employer is usually happy about that because they know that you can make the company a lot more money by being out there and by doing deals. But they're also going to have to train somebody else in 12, 18 months, whenever you do transition. So that's just always something to be aware of and make the team aware of before you come on. So for number 2, what we have would be being a part of a team. And this is kind of halfway in between the first and third option, which we will get to soon. And not to spoil it, but the third option is pretty short and simple. It's just going into the business and jump both feet in. But I'll get to that in a minute and give you some tips there if you do decide to go that route. But in the middle, I would say, is working for a team. So once again, just like working for a brokerage or being a staff employee, if you were to work for a team, say it is an older advisor or agent that's been there for 5, 10, maybe they've been there for, say, 15 or 20 years, and say it's an older guy. And I use this example because I've seen it multiple times before. So say there's an older guy at the company that's been there for a long time, and he's done good deals and making really good money, but, he's been in the business for, 20 years, say he's 50, 60 years old, and maybe he's not the most tech savvy. So, if you are a younger person and getting into the business, hopefully you're a little more on the tech savvy side. So this is a skill that you can use to benefit the team. So when I say being on a team, it means, it's either one person that is selling already, and then it could be 2, 3, 4 people that are selling. I mean, teams don't really get bigger than 3 or 4 people. If you're at a big corporate firm, sometimes there's 5, 6 people teams, which that's kind of a whole different aspect of the industry once you get to those big corporate brokerage firms, which, nothing bad to say about them. Those are still great opportunities to get into the business. It just takes you a little bit longer in the corporate structures to climb the ladder, in my opinion. But it is a more for sure way because I think you have more structure there. But that's another video. So when working with a team, like I said, it's either one person that has good traction or it is a team of people. And I've always said this. So whenever I talk to young people about, hey, what they want to do, and, people that have great ambition or, really want to be successful in whatever industry, I always say, and I heard it from somebody else, I'm not that smart, I just, copied from somebody else that did it before me, but I've heard and repeated, like I said, to a lot of young people, that the fastest way to the top is to find somebody with momentum and then provide value. So I have an employee here that works with me, and he came on with me earlier this year and wanted to get into commercial real estate. And that was exactly what I told him. And I said, hey, I think this is a really good move. I know you want to get into the business, and I've had some really good momentum behind me for the last few years and been very fortunate in my business. And, 10 months later, he's got, an incredible knowledge of commercial real estate. He's made really good money doing so, but he's provided a lot of value to me, and he's allowed me to go and grow and conquer farther. So, being a part of a team, that is something you have the ability to do. But I think the biggest thing here is just knowing your skill set and your ability of, saying, hey, maybe it is marketing or organization, or maybe it's administration or cold calling, So top level advisors, usually they're doing a little bit more of the one-on-one warm calling relationship building. So, if there's a, list of, say, database of 400, 500, 600 properties, and, or they're tapping into a new market, whatever it is, and there's cold calls that need to be made, that can be a lower level task that a junior broker or an assistant or whatever the title would be when joining a team. That's something that you could take on and provide value to the team. But I will tell you, the more value you provide to the team, the more valuable you are. So I've heard many times before that you will never be paid more than you're worth, but often you will be paid less than you're worth. Unfortunately, that's the circumstances in a lot of jobs here in America. But as far as being paid more than you're worth, that usually doesn't happen. Employers usually want to keep expenses low so they don't, skyrocket you in a big income bracket or salary, just if you're brand new or they think you're going to be great. But you have to provide a lot of value in order to be paid well. All right, and last of all, and I mentioned it briefly before, would be just jumping in both feet. And some people do this, and I think this is most successful when it may be their second or third career choice because they have relationships underneath them. Maybe they were in a different industry. Maybe it's sales. Maybe it's something that was very relationship intensive, and they have relationships with business owners or investors or high net worth individuals that they can leverage in commercial real estate. And that is when people are most successful at jumping in both feet. And then I would also say when people do it, if they are younger, one of the best things to do, and really, in my opinion, the only opportunity that you have for success when you're young and jumping in, both feet, if you have not been in or if your family has not been in this business or you don't have any existing relationships. And, one thing I would always recommend, and really I think is truly your only shot at sustaining yourself in this business, is by having 12 to 18 months of income saved up. So I think this is a very rare route just because not a lot of people that are younger and getting into commercial real estate have that much savings. A lot of the times, hopefully they have low expenses, or maybe they're still living at their home with their parents or have a couple roommates, and those are all great things. But the big thing in this industry is it takes time. It takes the foundation and education underneath you, but it takes the reps. Even when you get to the sales portion of this job, and if you jump in both feet, then that would be you going into sales immediately. But even then, it takes a lot of reps, and it takes a lot of tries and fails, and just a lot of no's before you get to some yeses. But just time in the seat and really showing up to events and in your market and providing value. Getting your name on a few listings, doing some buy side stuff, tenant rep stuff, really whatever you can get your hands on in order to get some money coming in so you can sustain yourself in this business, and then work on building real relationships and a real pipeline. So, when jumping in both feet, I think those are the two best ways to do it. If you're a young person, make sure you have 12 to 18 months worth of income saved up. And if this is your second or third career and maybe you're, 30, 40, 50 years old, hopefully you have some relationships already existing from your previous careers that you can leverage in commercial real estate. But if not, that's okay. But I would just stick to the same rule that, 12 to 18 months of income, maybe a little bit more because likely you have more expenses than a young person. But having that money saved up to sustain yourself in the business, because it does take time in the seat, and it does take, months and months and months, sometimes, year, 2 years in order to see a real payoff of the work that you've put in. However, when you see that payoff, it's one of the best feelings in the world. And, to be completely honest with you, so like I said, I was 2 years in this business and I almost quit. So right before the 2-year mark, I was making very little money, going through some family troubles, and it was just a really, really tough time for me. And then at the end of that 2 years, I had one eye looking for jobs and I had one eye on commercial real estate. It was December, and I told myself, hey, I have enough money in my bank account to go until March. And, I looked myself in the mirror in December and said, hey, I've put in 2 years. I'm going to give it everything I have. So I really put that work in and just, really, really went hard at that season. But it took me going full in, taking one eye off other jobs and saying, hey, this is what I want to do. I've put so much work in, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to give it my absolute best shot until I'm out of money. And I ended up closing a deal in February, which sustained me a few more months, and then another deal, and then a few more months. And I actually ended up 10xing my income income from the year before. So I definitely almost quit, and that was almost my story, but thank God that it wasn't, and I persevered through this time and was able to have a very successful career in commercial real estate, and something that I am very fortunate for. All right, and before we get out of here, I wanted to tell you what I was talking about in the beginning of this video when I talked about brokerage versus investments, because as a young person, and this is me speaking in the mirror, and especially over the last 6-7 years, I had to really tell myself this, and I think it can hopefully provide value to some of the other young people in the room that have looked at doing investments and said, hey, brokerage, investments, what do I want to do? How do I want to get there? Maybe you want to do investments, but you get into brokerage first. And that's actually what I did, and is what I think is one of the best routes. So, the syndication game and raising money and getting into investments has become very cool on social media nowadays. And I just think it's, a little bit overrated, at least when it comes to the social media world. Commercial real estate investing is not overrated, but the perspective of, how other people look at you or perceive you because you're an investor, it sounds a lot cooler than a broker, I think, or at least, that's what social media thinks, or the market, or maybe your friends and family. It's cooler to tell them that, I guess. But I think that being a commercial real estate broker is one of the best precursors to get into commercial real estate investments. And I'll give you a few reasons why. So commercial real estate brokerage, you come in, and while you start out with, no pipeline and very little money, and you try to do deals, you have an incredible foundation of the business to start doing those deals. And so you build that knowledge, you build that experience, and then you get the reps with real transactions, and you help other people. So I've helped a lot of investors, a lot of businesses make a lot of money in commercial real estate. But those reps that I've put in for other people, it's helped them, and I feel great about that. It's given me incredible experience about the industry and seeing all of the ins and outs of those transactions. And it's also made me pretty good money in the meantime. It's allowed me to take that money and then go put that into commercial real estate investments for myself. So, like I said, I think the perspective and the showcasing of, hey, I'm an investor is overrated in today's market, because I don't think people know all that goes into it and know that, hey, there's other steps you can take if you want to get there that I think are a little more methodical and also responsible, because especially when you start raising other people's money and pulling together savings or retirement money or whatever it is, hopefully these investors, they really, really know what they're doing, and they're not chasing that tagline on their social media, because I think there's a great deal of responsibility and stewardship that plays into taking somebody else's money and doing commercial real estate investments. So I truly do think that commercial real estate brokerage is the greatest way to get into commercial real estate investments. And then there's also the thing about tying millions of dollars with a debt to your name. So as a commercial real estate broker, you can make really good money in 6 and 7 figures. Trust me, I know. But also, when you go to sleep at night, do you have $1, $2, $5, $10 million with a debt tied to your name? And some people can stomach that and some people can't. And I think that's just up for you to decide. But I know I feel a lot better stomaching that after I've had years and years and years of experience and reps in the commercial real estate business. So I'm confident in my ability to execute, pay back debt, and also pay back investors, and just my ability to navigate through the market and know what is a good deal, what is not. And I've had enough reps through brokerage that now I can succeed in commercial real estate investments. So hopefully you found this video valuable. If you did, click the like and the subscribe button. If you didn't, then don't. But either way, drop a comment and let us know what you want to hear next time.